he be pushed. The question that looms large, if a government minister can be terminated or is worthy of losing his job because of a visa revocation, then how much more worthy is a government minister worthy of losing his job because of allegations of sexual misconduct? Stop.
Pages and have actually headlined to suggest that Americans coming to St. Lucia can be victims of armed robbery, assault, burglary, and rape. The United Workers' Party believes that given how much Mexico and other destinations in the Caribbean have had to spend exorbitant sums to prop up their brands and improve their brands, that the government of St. Lucia need to move swiftly to alleviate the situation, to cause the United States and the State Department to reverse their advisory. But more importantly, we must act swiftly on the chronic crime situation that is affecting our country. The government cannot continue to play politics with this issue. The government cannot continue to just suggest that they are providing more vehicles to the police. The government cannot continue to say that they're building more police stations. The government cannot continue to say that they are giving police additional resources. All of those things have proven to be futile if the political will and if a coherent plan does not exist for crime fighting. And so now we in the opposition are forced to sound our voices again. We are forced to sound the alarm that our country, more importantly for those of us who live here, have not been safe for a very long time. And this is not politics, but we call on the St. Lucia Labour Party administration to have a national symposium and to mobilize all the resources, all of the different stakeholders in the country, churches, credit unions, civil society groups, community groups, the opposition, like we did under Herman Gill Francis, when the now Prime Minister, in his capacity as leader of the opposition, actually did attend and make representation on behalf of the opposition. Because there are certain things that you cannot politicize. There are certain things that we need to come together, and there needs to be a bipartisan approach on this matter going forward. So, at the risk of our call being thrown in the dustbin like our letter a few years ago, we reach out again and we ask the government to take the lead and to call us together to a meeting so that we can put our heads together to solve the perennial crime situation affecting the country. Now, I'll stop here on these two matters because I know you members of the media are raring to go. You've got your questions. Any questions for myself or my colleagues? Good.
Mr. Page, if I recall correctly, you said you've made numerous attempts to meet with the Prime Minister, but you haven't been successful, or he has?
We wrote a letter. The leader of the opposition actually, quite recently, a few years ago, would have written to the Prime Minister suggesting several things to help to curb the crime situation in the country. And one of those things was actually a meeting of the two political parties, various stakeholders, church groups, and so on. And the Prime Minister poured it in the bin. He said on the on the press conference that he put it in the dustbin. Yeah.
Why do you think that's it?
I don't know. You would have to ask the Prime Minister why he would do such a thing. But I think we're very disappointed that, you know, the government so far have not been able to bring the country together to discuss this matter. It's become too crucial. A lot is at stake. Hotels are already losing bookings. So jobs are at stake. Economic opportunities at stake. Tax revenue is at stake. Our whole development prospect is at stake if we don't deal with this matter urgently. The United States is our major and main tourism market. And if we don't get this right, then I think the consequences are going to be too dire. The UK market, our second most important market, has been in crisis for quite some time. We have seen significant declines in the double digits. The cruise industry is in significant decline as well. We've seen that the government last report suggested that the cruise industry is down 87% in the month of May. That is a phenomenal decline on the part of cruise tourism in this country. You go to Point Surfing right now, the place is a ghost town. You go to where the taxi drivers normally queue up in front of the arcade, there's nothing going on. There's no opportunity for people. So there's a lot that needs to happen. This travel advisory is not something we gloat about. But I think it is a time for the government to go back to the drawing board and to admit that what they're doing is not working. Tourism cannot happen in isolation, and to believe that it is going to survive while you have a crisis situation in the country as it pertains to crime. Crime is certainly one of those social ills that can easily undermine tourism very quickly. And by the way, I want to extend my condolences to the family. I know that some of you were in the Marigot area today, responding to the latest homicide, which took place in the community of Marigot. So again, this has just become too commonplace. Everything that the government has done has failed, and it is time to do something new to arrest the the unsafe nature of the country, which continues to affect our sons, our daughters. So much of what have been spoken about here today, from Joyce Sintoma to uh, the the young lady who has reported this case against the minister, to a whole host of issues that have actually come up. And we just keep talking about the same issues for decades and not prepared to do something radical and fundamentally different. And that's the only way we're going to solve it. I admire what Jamaica has done. I admire what Trinidad has done and the gains that they have made in reducing crime by significant numbers, both of them over 40%. And we need to see what they have done, what has worked, and we need to seek their help.
Back to what you said at the seconds ago, we're claiming that everything the government has done has failed. Don't you think that's why?
As it pertains to crime, yes.
Don't you think perhaps that's why government is not really willing to sit down with regularly? I think it almost comes across as something that is one-sided.
I can't tell you why they're unwilling to sit down with us, but
Because it
certainly
it doesn't seem like a genuine effort to repair the situation. Perhaps that's
yeah. Well, how many homicides do we have today? In the month of June, half of the year. If we continue at this trajectory, this will be the bloodiest year we have in St. Lucia, right? And for the last 4 to 5 years, we have had unprecedented levels, over 70 every single year. And that is just there. Those stats, just in terms of homicides, is not a pretty good sight. We've got the United States is telling us as a country that they are very concerned about our crime situation and our inability to arrest the crime situation. So when I look at those numbers, when I look at how the general public feel about their own public safety, I don't believe that the government has been able to satisfy the public that it is on top of the crime situation. When last have you heard a government say in St. Louis, when last have you heard the government say, this is unacceptable, we're going to up the ante, we will make sure that we find the criminals, we will hunt them down? Have you ever heard the government say those words? From there? Right. But the Minister of National Security equally has a responsibility. The Prime Minister equally has a responsibility. We cannot allow for people to lose their lives, mothers to lose their sons. We cannot allow to see the level of guns that are flowing into the country and accept that the guns coming into the country, it's not okay. We cannot.
Just to support Mr. Fady here, just two points. First of all, with respect to the question I was asked about how genuine the opposition is yeah. First of all, it is the responsibility of the government to do what it needs to do to bring all parties together to deal with the crime problem. So if the opposition is not genuine, the people will find out, the people will see. The government's job, however, is to invite them. And then the public is going to judge for itself whether the opposition was genuine in its desire to see a reduction in crime. But it begins with the government taking the initiative. So let us put that to rest. Secondly, what we're seeing is the US government has cited specific types of crime that it is advising its citizens exist in St. Lucia and that they should not move to come to our country, our biggest market, the United States. Now, what we have is a situation where we have an environment of lawlessness. And that is what is most bothersome. We don't honor our reports. You see, it's little things that add up. And then when those among us, the social deviants, the criminals, recognize that we live in an ecosystem, a place, a society where laws don't matter. So you break small laws, you will break bigger laws. When you live in an ecosystem where you have a minister of government under active investigation for a crime, one of the crimes that the United States cites as a reason why its people should not come here, and the government delays, the government appears unsure of what it should do. What is the signal that the government sends to the criminal elements in the country and to the United States? Because in an environment like that, it is not only solving the problem, but is at least appearing to want to solve the problem. So if you have a situation where a government minister is under such scrutiny in an investigation, the quickest thing you do is you remove that matter from there. You show confidence in your leadership. You show the world we take crime seriously. We will let due process take its course. But we do what we can do. The Prime Minister can relieve the Minister of his office. He can do that. It is within his purview to do that. So we expect to see that, at least that, while the other parts, and that would send a clear message to our people that our country is still governed by the rule of law, and that we take the matter of our laws seriously. So it is the entire ecosystem, the environment that we have to treat with to arrest the issue of crime. Any other question?
So I'd like to maybe to pivot from the political issues to a more public interest agenda. Regarding the canals fishermen, the fishermen who disappeared allegedly, what specific information did the United Workers' Party receive regarding that issue?
For the purpose of the audience who would not have heard your question, you were asking with respect to the canals, the situation involving the fishermen from canals. You were asking what specific information have the United Workers' Party received? The United Workers' Party has not received any specific information on that matter. However, what we have sought to do is we have sought to call on the government to conduct itself in a matter that reflects compassion, conduct itself in a manner that reflects accountability. So that matter would have resurfaced in essence at the press conference leading a press conference at the end of the 51st meeting of the CARICOM heads of government. And in response to this question, when posed by an Al Jazeera journalist on what is the state, the Prime Minister gave a response. And the journalist went further to say, but your response is inconsistent with what the mother of one of the victims is reporting. And what the United Workers' Party did was to go to that mother, and what the mother said over the media with respect to the lack of government response, the fact that she had not had any response herself to the matter from the government. She reiterated that response to the United Workers' Party. So we're saying that the government, there are things the government could do. Come and level with the public. Indicate to us what actions you've taken, what the responses have been, what you plan to do next. These are things the government can do so that the public gets a sense that the government is sensitive, The government is compassionate. The government has the interest of everyone, including the fishermen who lost their lives at sea, and that the government is willing to do everything in its power. We do not know what has been the diplomatic forays made. None of that has been reported to the public. So you see, it's about building confidence as a government among your people that you are actually standing with them. You are in the corner. And that is where we are at right now.
If I can just make,
Senator Phil.
yeah, and if I can just make a quick comment on this, it is so crucial that a matter that has such geopolitical significance, that the leader of your country, that he appears to be very much in control of this whole situation. I think the exchange between the Al Jazeera journalists was very embarrassing, and the comments that followed on a local talk show, I think it was Newspin, where the mother of the deceased children suggested something inconsistent with what the prime minister said. I think that this is embarrassing, and the prime minister needs to come out and clear up what did he actually mean by doing more than going to visit the family. So again, it doesn't give me, or it doesn't give an independent onlooker the confidence that is required to ensure that the prime minister is consistent with everything that he's saying, and that he's on top of this situation.
Has the United Workers' Party directly spoken to the family?
We're going to do so very shortly.
Changes are you proposing to improve the search and rescue coordination with regards to maritime emergencies?
What changes are we proposing in response to?
Search and rescue coordination regarding maritime emergencies.
Yeah. So I know back in 1992, CARICOM would have signed the Bridgetown Accord with the then President Clinton in a very important meeting that they had in Barbados. And one of those things was a big security cooperation, and the agreement would have been called the Shipwrighter Agreement. And that agreement, it seems to have been working well. I am not aware that CARICOM has any concerns about the Shipwrighter Agreement, which allows American naval vessels in Caribbean waters to help with the policing of illicit drug substances coming through the Caribbean. So I think I would leave CARICOM to take the lead, and I would want to see statements coming from them. If they have spoken or dialogue with the Americans, have they expressed any concern as it relates to the process, or are they happy with what is taking place in the Caribbean at present, and in the way that the Americans are presently engaging in this anti-drug initiative in the Caribbean? I've seen one prime minister, the Prime Minister of Trinidad, is very vociferous in her support to the Americans and their effort, and she highlighted the fact that her country has a very peculiar drug problem, being on the brink of the South American border where a lot of the drugs are coming from. So it is for our head of state to say at the next time you go to the press briefing, for him to indicate whether he's happy or not. Okay? All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for
All right, I just want to say a special good morning to all our viewers here on Caribbean American News Media Platform. We are here following the press conference of the United Workers' Party. My name is Garfield Olliver. You're viewing us here on Caribbean American News Media Platform. Welcome. I just want to spend some time until the news spin segment. I'm very busy, as you know. I am booked for 3 countries in the region. I will be leaving shortly for these countries. And some of the team have already gone, but that is something different. But I just want to, we just want to go through the press conference, what the takeaways are. This is the United Workers' Party. We had both leaders of the party speaking to the St. Lucian people on matters of importance to the nation. One thing we must agree that the United Workers' Party is the opposition party of the country, and every country in a democracy should have good opposition, a healthy opposition, all in the interest of the development of the country. Our opposition should not only be to criticize and to be stumbling blocks, of course, but we are to hold our governments in check. That is a healthy democracy, checks and balances in the nation. And therefore, I discourage any unreasonable attack on the opposition, also on the press. These are part of the democracy. These are constitutionally required in order to keep a nation healthy politically. And sometimes when you hear people say, well, get rid of oppositions and cursing off when questions are asked, I don't think they understand truly the importance of opposition in any nation of the world. And so we will go through some of our discussions. We've had a number of news segments out there. I'm not sure if we're going to be on tonight. We will see if we can get onto our portable system. I'm not sure where I'm going to be between now and then, because we have travelers that have been folks, team members of mine and us, who have been traveling since Monday. And so some left last night, this morning, some got in. So it is a whole lot of movement for me. I am back and forth trying to finalize stuff, get my jackets packed in nicely, and all the stuff that I would need for my visits. It's really a lot. And I also have guests coming in from Barbados here, so I have to leave a clean environment. So there's a lot of work I'm doing right now. And I also have guests with me even as I'm speaking. But it's been a very busy week. But we can get through by the grace of God. Amen. So let's just deal, as I said, number of issues came up in the press conference. Now let me just touch a bit on the United Workers' Party before we go into what is happening in the country. And forgive me, our set is imperfect. We're in studio. This is actually Studio C of our broadcasting. We are in the process of relocating our studio to a bigger location where we are going to be bringing in. If you look behind me, you will see this is the brain of our operation right here next to me. That is the main brain of Caribbean American News. That's where everything is transmitted through, and you can get it on different platforms. And very soon we have requested a television broadcasting license through one of the telecommunications in the country. We're working with them right now so that we're going to be having a live channel, 24 hours channel in the island of St. Lucia. I believe it's through the Flow Network, or one. Yes, I believe it's the Flow Network. So we are working on a lot of stuff. Also, we are back on GVD television. If from last week, I was advised that we are back on that network. It was a short break after the elections, and so we are broadcasting. We will be broadcasting from, if we're on from tonight going forward, on GVD TV channel 115. We know there's a lot of elderlies who have been looking and have been reaching out to us, their families, their children, in getting the GVD channel 115 back up and running. So we are working on this. This is a new, actually, piece of equipment that we have. It's just a matter of, I think it's 2 months now that we got this massive, massive brain. In this, you have the world of storage and everything else that is needed for our broadcast. This is, you cannot break into it. It is safe, and we went overboard in ensuring that that cyberspace is protected from hacks and everything else, hacking and interference. What happened last week on our broadcast, I want to apologize to our viewers. We had one of our legs, our feed legs, went down. Not down enough to crash in the sense, but it went down and it slowed down. I believe it was the Facebook feed. And we found out what the issue actually was. What happened, I was moving around one of the connections and I plugged it in the wrong space. That's on the cable side. I plugged it into the wrong place and it knocked out the hard wire of the internet. And so we were operating on Wi-Fi, and not only were we operating on Wi-Fi, we were operating also at high capacity because we had overload the system with videos and clips that we wanted to feed. Now, we're not supposed to overload it. We're supposed to go like 3 or 4 videos and then get them out, bring in new ones, import new ones. But I ran all those clips at one time, and it overburdened the EPS on the system, on the GPU, and gave it an overload where we were operating in the red. And so we have rectified all that. I even reached out to the cable company, and it was when I really, while I'm speaking to them and I'm doing investigations, I looked and saw that one of the feed was not in the right place, and that would have slowed down our broadcast. But I just want to welcome those of you here. Let's have a conversation. So the United Workers Party is a party in it's in opposition coming out of the elections. We were dealt a blow by the St. Lucia Labour Party that formed the government. And so the United Workers Party throughout the years have had some issues within themselves, internal issues from John Compton time after that, and everybody's searching for a leader. But what the party at this time is ensuring is that there's a succession plan where the party will never be, in panic to find a new leader or to replace our leader if that is where the party is going. And so I want to assure United Workers Party supporters that and the people of St. Lucia that the United Workers Party is working to review the operation of the party, what needs to be improved, what needs to be thrown out in the garbage. When I say thrown out in the garbage, methodologies, way of doing things in this modern age. And so it's an old party. And if you ask me, that I've not learned enough throughout the operations, but I can say to you that you have a United Workers Party that is organizing. The work is happening behind the scenes. You might not hear it and see it publicly, but that it is wisdom for those things to be done behind closed doors, and at the same time, you focus on the issues that are happening in the country. So while you're organizing your machine, you're also dealing with the many concerns in the nation, and those two things happen at the same time. And so don't be worried about anything with the United Workers Party. We have good leaders among us. If one fail, one make a mistake, and God forbid we have to remove them or remove the opposition leader, Mr. Chasney, or we have to replace him. We have to replace Dominic. We have to replace Preville and all those guys. We have enough people that can take up the slack. People who are willing to sacrifice and go out there and represent their nation. We encourage young people to come forward and serve your country through one of the major parties, whether it's the Labour Party or the United Workers Party, any one of those parties that embraces your value. Then young people need to come forward and start getting involved in the democracy of the country. We should help to facilitate an environment where young people want to come out. With all the nastiness we see on social media, individuals, foul language and insulting, humiliating people, and all the things that you see out there, folks, it doesn't lend in an environment where young people would want to come out and engage. You know, there are a lot of them out there. We know that there are many of them who want to, but as a result of these seniors, older people who are making a mess of the political arena, then those young people shy away. They don't want people to be calling them on their phones to insult them on national television or radio. And so they shy away from that. You know, young people will do just that. And so I'm pleading with those out there. I'm pleading with people out there, people like Anson, people like Yadi, people like myself, people like whoever is out there speaking. We got to be careful. We got to be careful with our approach because they're young people that we're trying to bring in. We're trying to encourage them to take part in the democracy. We need leaders. We need to shape leaders for our tomorrows. And when we do the things that we do, say the things that we say, just because we want to talk, then it is not helping the nation. But let me just look at some of the matters that were discussed. One, the upgrade alert from the United States to a I think is number 2. It is something we got to pay attention to. Once those numbers start ticking, they start moving. There's a movement there. Then the nation need to start paying attention. And I know some of the concerns would be crime, young people being murdered. Young people are reporting that they're being harassed, they're being raped, they're being punched. One young lady said she was punched because she said to a gentleman, look, I don't want to dance with you, punch her in the face. The level of reported asylum seekers, whether it's in England or the United States, all these trackers that people pay attention, these countries pay attention to. And so we don't want that numbers to be going up. As we know, St. Lucia is a beautiful country, and you want people to come in. So the environment, if you look at my platform, I scarcely now report some of these the life that is happening in the country. I don't have the appetite, honestly, to broadcast it all the time. There are times, especially with the young lady who got killed, I would have highlighted those things, but I'm monitoring, and I think maybe we need to report on it still, because we need to inform the people, the nation, so that people can be aware, be careful, people can have more tolerance and everything else, with patience with each other. But once those numbers, as I said, start ticking up, you want to pay attention to um, those things. But it's up to the people on the ground. We, like myself in the diaspora, who live in the diaspora, we here in New York alone, there is a murder every second. There are crimes happening every second here that you don't hear sometimes, you know. You've got to be in the system sometimes to understand how bad the city is, you know. So a lot of it is not public right away. There's a lot of incest, a lot of rape, there's a lot of killing, there's a lot of robberies, there's a lot of cyberbullying, there's a lot of scammers happening in this place. Is a whole bouillon of craziness in this big city. But because of the size of it, you know, it seems insignificant when you look at numbers sometimes. But for a small country, we cannot compare St. Lucia with the United States, or even with Brooklyn itself. Brooklyn is much bigger than St. Lucia. So we got to look at these situations sometimes, crime, you know, inside isolation. You know, this is unique to St. Lucia because of the size of the country. This is unique to the United States because of the size of it. You know, you look at per capita and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, let's not compare at times, all the time, what is happening in St. Lucia. What is happening in St. Lucia is unacceptable, period. What is happening here in the United States is unacceptable, period. What is happening around the world is acceptable. And so we must charge at it, you know, like a bull. And what is happening in St. Lucia, I'm saying that it is just, we cannot defend it because of a government in power. You can't defend it, and you can't be outraged only when a certain party is in power. We got to be outraged all the time against the loss of lives, especially young people. Any human beings, man, if I take that back, any life at all, we got to be alarmed about it. And so that is seriously a problem. We heard of another murder, I think it was last night or yesterday. I don't have documents or anything with me right now. So it's the numbers at 42, you know, and the things that we're focusing on, I think all of us should lend our voice. All people should lend their voice, both SLP and UWP, and condemn it, condone it. Don't make excuse that you have the best prime minister, you have the best government, and you have the best this and best that. No, you have the best all of that, and we have the worst crime. That's the problem. We're dealing with the worst, not the best. Let's deal with the worst in the society. Let's try to lessen it. Let's try to put a dent on it. Let's try to make it better. This is not about best prime minister and best government. No, no. And by the way, if it's the best, then every other areas in your country should be the best also, as far as I'm concerned right now. All right, so we have a lot of issues, and we did highlight that those issues that will arise on the world stage, such as the CIP. We have been sounding the alarm on CIP. We have been sounding the alarm. We have been sounding the alarm on CIP. And instead of looking and fixing, then there was this whole campaign to disrespect and to curse people, the messengers off, and there was a problem. And you would have heard me saying over and over, you can cuss everybody out. You can do all your nastiness, but we will still have to deal with the problems in the country. So we might as well use our energy and efforts to deal with them, to talk about them, to help to bring solutions to the table so that we can fix it. It is one thing to criticize without solution, but let's find solution together and deal with it, because when the crime rate goes down, all St. Lucians benefit. When the price of gas goes down, all St. Lucians benefit. when you have a working government, all St. Lucians should benefit. So I'm just saying, folks, we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention to the things that matter to us most, the drama and excitement. Now, the press conference also speaks of the SSDF and checks that governmental agency has not been audited in a long time. How can you have that type of money going into an entity and there is no checks and balances? This makes absolutely no sense. And we saw the same problem with CIP, where there was lack of clarity. Why there is lack of clarity with agencies that deal with billions of dollars? Why should there be? The checks and balances is auditors auditing timely audits. That's part of the check and balances. That's part of holding people accountable. The SSDF has not been held accountable for the funds that goes into it. It has not. CIP has been lagging when it comes to transparency and accountability. And everybody jumps up. Yeah. Redruck and Martinez and Garfield and Chastney and Shastney don't like the country. Folks, we have issues, and those issues, because we are defending the nastiness, it continues and it goes to different departments until it gets to your pockets or your homes or your family's pocket, where it affects them. Why can't we fix it now? Don't go after the messenger. The messengers might be imperfect with the message, but there is an issue that needs to be dealt with. Now we have also in the press conference, the United Workers' Party highlights the approach to the Richard Frederick, the Honorable Richard Frederick's situation. Now, here's where things are. Mr. Frederick was fingered by law enforcement a few weeks ago as a sitting minister, all right, lawmaker. He was brought in for questioning. He indicated that his phone was taken away. The Prime Minister confirmed through a communication that Mr. Frederick is under investigations. He was detained, released, but he's under investigations, and the government said that they would allow the law to move forward without any hindrance or any interference, which means that there is something happening. The police refused to update the nation on a sitting government minister, and you think that nothing is wrong with this. No clarity from the government, no proper accountability there. Police says nothing to the nation. You detained a government minister. You detained him. You took his phone. There's an active investigations. Just talk to the people. You don't need to go into details. Don't let people speculate like we would do all the time. Don't let people start thinking. You tell them, come to them first and say, look, we detained the gentleman. He's released. We have not charged him on anything. The matter is still ongoing, and that's it. But you don't put the minister himself in limbo. You, the police, and the government can just quench all this quickly, you know. There are steps that you can take to protect the integrity of government, the integrity of the police force, and you save a lot of people from speculating. There are those who are defending, and there are those who are just piling on. You understand what I'm saying? The power is right now, not even with Mr. Frederick. The power is with the police who detained the man, and the government, the Prime Minister, who the man worked with in his office. Put out a clear statement. Let the nation know the gentleman, the Honorable Minister, was detained for questioning by the police. It's an ongoing matter right now. The gentleman is on administrative leave, or the gentleman was relief of his portfolio until the investigations is over. We wish the gentleman all the best. You finish there as a government. That's the precedent that has been set, which it's not law, but that's the precedent that has been set. A minister is caught up, whether it's true or not, in allegations and stuff. You let him, you take away the distraction so that the government can be free. But the longer you hold this in, is the more you taint the government of the country. Not only in the eyes of St. Lucians, but in the eyes of international people who are looking on. Right? The police, as I said, have a responsibility to come out. Now, new spin might be on soon. They, Prime Minister, the police, has a right. You detained a government minister. You're not a farmer or fisherman, you know. A government minister you detained, and you say nothing. You say nothing. And don't tell me this is not major, this is not failure. You can kill it. You can just put this to rest by alerting the nation that the government minister was detained. He is not charged with anything. It's an ongoing investigations. He was detained. He was released. We are still questioning him on certain stuff that was brought to us, certain complaints, and so blah blah blah. And the investigation is ongoing. But you need to take that shadow a bit off from him. Because right now the man is not charged because he had naked pictures, or charged because he was having an affair with another girl apart from his girlfriend. That's not the charges. That's not even what we're looking at. That has right now nothing really to do with the substantial matter. That does not warrant an investigation. The minister having an affair. Nobody's being investigated by police. You might be investigated by an private investigator, by a wife hire an investigator to follow the husband to see if he's cheating. Fine. But the police don't investigate a government minister because he is cheating on his girlfriend, because Mr. Frederick is not married, or cheating on his fiancée. So the whole picture and him standing behind a woman is right now, to me, not a legal matter. And that is not why you're investigating him. Is that true? I'm sure that's true. Because if that's what you're investigating him for, if it's consensual, two adults, the picture should not even be out there like many saying, and I support it. But all I am saying, in fairness to him, clear it up. There is a matter being investigated. And there's a lot of ignorance out there where people are just thinking that he's being arrested because of pictures. So people are now saying, oh, that's not him in the picture. It's irrelevant whether it's him in the picture or not. We're dealing with legal matter, not that moral. That's a moral issue. That's a morality issue. That's for priests or pastors and elders and church people to talk about. But for those of you who are living in the same thing, doing the same nastiness, sleeping around, cheating on your wife, in house with one woman, your wife down the road, or your wife down the road, and you and the woman in the same, or you're all in the same, you know, the nastiness. What I'm saying is that some of you who are speaking has no authority to speak on these matters of morality. None at all. I'm not talking about childhood thing. You know, you go, you have one pick me there, one day. Those are childish stuff. But you grow up, you grow out of those things. I don't hold those things against people. But what I'm saying, folks, This is a morality issue with the pictures. Huh? It's about loyalty. It has a lot to do with your morals. Who you are as a person, if you're a cheating person, if you're a fair person. Because if you're cheating, it says a lot about you, the person. You're not trustworthy. So that's moral. But legally, if there's an investigation that will cause him to have to be relieved of his duties, the police and the prime minister need to clear that up. Don't just say he's on leave. Leave why? Administrative leave why? Because there are pictures out there with him? He didn't put the pictures out there, I'm sure. He didn't want the pictures out there. Huh? So again, our people are distracted and our people have lost their minds. You know, you listen to the discussions surrounding this whole thing and people have lost their minds. People are exciting themselves. People are mixing up the whole discussion. Huh? As a result of this, and Timothy might be on soon, we have the SSDF funds, how it got caught up in this situation. That's what we need to know. How we're going to know that and audit the director. They got to make a statement. They got to say something to the people. They got to answer to the press. Go to the press and let's talk. Mr. Frederick standing behind a woman, that's for him and his woman and everybody else to figure out is he a loyal guy? What is going on with him? Although it might bring into question his morals if he's not trustworthy, if he's not a faithful person to his committed girlfriend or fiance, then he might not be all that faithful in other things. All these says a lot about an individual. Are we together? So the whole discussion needs to be pulled back from all the excitement. And some people are lengthening it. They're just digging and digging and digging this man into a bad place. And I keep saying, if they love him like they say they love him, why are they doing this to him? Every day, every second, they're bringing back this thing and they're digging it, digging it, digging it, digging it. Look, the man came on the air and he said, look, he feels exhausted. He feels he needs to take a break. And this is not Frederick. I'm not defending him. And I might do a better job defending him than those who are defending him. And you got to be careful in the defense because, one, you don't know the charges. Let's say, for instance, the charges are sexual. Let's say, for instance, that Mr. Frederick was accused by a child of molestation. Let's assume that happened. You are busy defending, not realizing that you might be hurting victims, that you might be causing families to be broken all over again. So you guys need to use your wisdom and tread soft, if you have it at all. Tread softly. I'm not saying people can't defend the guy, but in defense, you've got to be careful. And I said to you, love covers a multitude of sin. Yes, it does. But we got to be cautious in our approach, not just jumping up like chickens without a neck, acting a fool all over the place, calling people names, trying to pull people into your dysfunction. The man said, look, he's weak. He's basically down. He needs that break. He can feel it, that it's time for him to go into hibernation. This man needs time for reflection, I'm telling you. Mr. Frederick needs time for reflection. He needs time alone with himself. He don't need all this nastiness. You guys that love him, you would be supporting him through your silence, through sending notes of compassion and we are with you, sir. You're not alone. It is okay to do that. If Mr. Shastry was in the same situation, I would not be here jumping up. I would be talking to him privately. I'll be sending notes to him saying, look, sir, I'm praying for you. I got you. I'm not going to turn my back on you. But all this nastiness, folks, it is lending to a toxic, and it is setting a dangerous precedence or environment in the country. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Let me know when Timothy is on, folks. You know? And I'm not going to tolerate this nastiness on my platform either. I'm just going to delete. I have deleted and I've blocked some this morning. Because I honestly, as a spiritual leader, I'm not in the mood to encourage this nastiness that some of you doing. You have children, you have families, and put yourself in those situations. Supposing it was your family. Think about it. Your children, your daughter, your granddaughter. And I understand that some of you like nastiness. A man rape your child, and you take washma, and you go quiet, and the child suffers all its life. I know of a young lady right there in Denry who is suffering all her life. For God's sake. Why? Because a mother took money. When the child should have been advanced and free mentally, that child is constantly reminded. And when we are discussing these things, folks, we got to be careful. There are thousands of victims of molestation and rape in the country. Thousands. And ask me why I'm passionate about it. You should ask me, and I'll tell you. A guy broke into my grandmother's house to rape my sister. And that man pushed. She was coming from church late in the night. And she went into the house. They didn't know the guy had already broken in, and he's in the room hiding. And that guy, when my sister screamed, the guy pushed the door, pushed my grandmother, almost killed her. So I have zero tolerance for nastiness. There might be a whole lot of victims out there around the nation. And when they listen to our discussions and how we treat people who make certain allegations, we fire them without even saying, this might be true, it might not be true. So let me just wait. I'm just speaking about the way we discuss matters relating to women. Matters relating to women. I heard one, let me know when Timothy's on. I heard one, and I saw one wrote, and I screenshotted it, and I documented it, and I'm documenting a file against this individual. And the person said that basically, and I know what the person is doing, I have victims. I have no victims. I have never wronged anyone sexually. I've never forced myself. I've never raped anyone. So I don't know what victims, what nastiness you are doing. And I don't even think that you should be talking about having those conversations with certain people. You should not be having those conversations in certain environments. You yourself. And you know yourself. You should not be having those conversations. You, out of all persons. Huh? I've never had victims. The only victims I've had is I get engaged, it didn't work out, and you move on. You're young, you're stupid, you engage, you disengage, you're gone, and that's it. You're searching for a life partner. So you engage, things don't work out, you break up, you move on. I don't know victims. So know your place. Don't pull me in your nastiness. And if you want to talk about victims, let's have that conversation. And I'll show you all the victims. I will name the victims to you one by one. Because for me, with a big mouth, I can keep my head up and boldly declare, if a man rapes, sexually violates a woman, that man should be in prison. He should be dealt with by the law. And the victim should be provided counseling. And no mother or father should take any money from any man if their child was violated. No mother. That mother should be jailed. The father should be jailed if they know that a crime was committed against their child. You're not a good father. You're not a good mother. I'm just speaking in general. But it's time that, let me know when Newspin is on. I'm going to read your statement. Let me know when, folks, Newspin is on. But we got to call it somewhere, because we will continue having victims. People refuse to speak up because they'll be exposed on Facebook. They'll be cursed out. They will be accused. I see that here. I'm hearing now there are two pictures. One, the lady, I think it's the Robinson lady, posted. I saw a picture. I don't know if she's the one posted it with Richard Frederick on a bed. Somebody, some sinner, saw nothing to do but Photoshop a picture of the original picture, adding a red teddy bear to it, and having red sheets and red pillowcases, which the first original picture had no such thing. And that's what we are engaging with at this time on a very serious matter. We are putting Mr. Frederick in a very bad position. And we are putting anyone else who is associated with this, and even the man's family, in a very bad position. When things are just going down, just not hiding or covering, but when things are just cooling down and the investigation continues, people are just digging up and creating a situation. Because people just like to talk. Lack of self-control. The word of God says, he who knows how to bridle his mouth can control every other thing in his life. You see, lack of mouth control, very serious thing. People just want to talk. Folks, if I have nothing to talk about, I ain't coming on live. Period. Because the wise man says that be quick to hear and speak slowly. Take your time to speak. And use wisdom when you're doing it. You're going to slip up at times, but use wisdom. So that was the UWP's press conference about, what is happening in the country, the crime, the accountability. And we look forward to hearing more. And I see the press people are getting more involved. The other thing that's out there is that the United Workers' Party brought in the Al Jazeera reporter, and that will be dealt with, I'm sure, in the right environment by the United Workers' Party, because you cannot, and the Al Jazeera network, you cannot be spreading rumors like that, things that you do not know about. And they so surely don't know about that. I'm going to leave now. That the Al Jazeera reporter was paid for and brought into St. Lucia by the United Workers' Party. That in itself, I cannot speak on it, but I know that it will be dealt with in a different situation, and people will have the opportunity to make it to back up their mouth. All right. So, folks, Newspin is on. I want you to have a beautiful rest of your day. Let's go over to Newspin now, and then I will go back to my my preparation here, folks. It's a lot, especially when you have to pack a lot of suits, jackets, and things with the different events that I am heading in there. Just keep me in your prayer, folks, and be good, folks. Be good. All right. Olliver here. What did I say? Is it Studio FBI? In which studio is this? But this is this backup studio with all the hard equipment from this. Where is it? To this, from this to this, to all the other things there. Folks, one of these days I'll give you a tour. Blessings.